Advanced Principles Podcast, or APP, was created to be an outlet for like-minded individuals to share in the broader conversations on leadership, retail market updates, and incredible personal success stories. On APP, you will hear a collection of stories from the titans of the retail industry, as well as thought and practice leaders covering the spectrum of the economy. Please click the subscribe button and look for the newest episodes to be released.
Not very many people get to say that they made it to the big leagues or to play professional sports.
Things aren't as daunting because you saw it on the highest level in the world.
How much are you going to hinder their overall athletic performance?
So what was it like growing up the son of a Cleveland Brown? Kellen Pagel is a certified fitness professional, fitness nutrition specialist, husband, and father living in Cleveland, Ohio. Along with his wife Tessa, they own the Orange Theory Fitness Studio in Strongsville, Ohio, and Surefire Wellness, a nutrition and supplement company. Kellen's mission is to create a healthier, happier world from the inside out and envisions a world where we all exercise regularly, eat healthy, live longer, and treat others better than we want to be treated. As a former two-sport Division I athlete, Kellen spends his time managing his businesses, working out, being outside, reading self-help books, and looks forward to traveling more in the near future. All right, so today we have Kellen, and a fantastic bio, great history. I'm excited to dive into not only your childhood, but your collegiate career, as well as your professional journey into what you're doing now. So welcome, Kellen. Thanks for being a guest on APP.
Well, thank you, Ryan, very much. Super excited to be a part of this and looking forward to it.
Yeah, me as well. So I've gotten to know you a little bit over the last 4 years, mostly when you're yelling at me to speed up or go faster or push harder. So I'm excited to get to know you a little bit outside of the gym class there as well. So let's get right into it.
Okay. Yeah, let's do it.
Good. All right. So give us a little bit of background on yourself, kind of where you're from, your childhood. I know you had some strong athletic background and upbringing, and then kind of just a glimpse into your professional journey, which we'll dive into a lot more later on here.
Okay. So I grew up in Northeast Ohio. My father, Mike, was born in Arizona, grew up there, was actually one of 5 boys. All 5 were athletes as well. My father ended up playing professional football for a number of years. Met my mom in Indianapolis. She was actually a cheerleader with the Colts, and he was drafted by them to play quarterback for them. So they met. He got traded to Cleveland, and then that's where I was born and raised. I grew up in Strongsville, went to Strongsville High School, played football, basketball, and baseball all through high school, and pretty much my whole life I've always been athletics. I ended up going to University of Massachusetts and played football there. Ended up playing a couple seasons of baseball as well. And then after that, got into coaching college football for a little bit, got into training as well, and then kind of led us to kind of where we are today with being more of a personal trainer, coach type of role as well.
Wow, very cool. So pretty expansive background. So your mom and dad are kind of the true American love story, quarterback, cheerleader. Normally that happens in high school, though, not the professional ranks. So what a cool story.
Yeah, no, it was kind of like a movie growing up,
yeah.
I would say. So.
No kidding. Somebody should create a feature film out of all that. That is just fantastic. Yeah. Fantastic. So you mentioned that your dad was drafted by the Colts and then eventually traded, I would assume, to Cleveland or free agency. So what was it like growing? I mean, Cleveland I haven't been here all that long, and I've been a part of some great football cities and states. I lived in Wisconsin, obviously the background in the Packers, Chiefs down in Kansas City. That's a huge, Chiefs Nation, Chiefs Kingdom. I was in Denver when they won their most recent Super Bowl. So I've been around, and I was in Chicago when the Bears won their Super Bowl back in 85, 86. Mm-hmm. But I'm telling you what, Cleveland Brown fans are loyalists and to put up with what they've put up with over the years. So what was it like growing up the son of a Cleveland Brown?
It was something that, when I was growing up, I used it as a little bit of my own personal motivation. And the reason why, Ryan, is that I grew up with so many people telling me, playing the same position, the same sport as my dad, that I won't be as good as him, or that sometimes I'm getting a little extra privilege because of my name, different things like that. So I used it as my own personal motivation growing up to try and prove to everybody that I could be my own self and I could be a quarterback that deserves to be there, not because of my name or what my father's done in the past and everything. But as I got older, I really start to realize and appreciate it more for what my father was able to accomplish and who he was and what he was able to do. And I think just with age, I kind of able to realize what's a little bit more important, kind of put ego aside for a little bit and just appreciate what it was that he was able to accomplish. And growing up in a place like Cleveland, is I still to this day, I'll go out and somebody might recognize my name and ask, are you the son of
Wow.
Mike Pagel? Different things like that, which I do like it. I enjoy it, just because it makes me feel very proud, to be his son and to know that he was able to accomplish something that people are still talking about to this day.
Yeah, yeah, that is really cool. And any cool locker room stories? I'm sure that you had a lot of time around the other players, the facilities, the coaching staff, and I've always sat back and kind of wondered what it would be like to be in a kid thrust into that environment. I would certainly think that that helped you on the bigger stages of high school athletics and then on into the college career as well, where things aren't as daunting because you saw it on the highest level in the world.
Yeah, that was something that I love to be a part of. I was a little bit younger when my dad was playing, and then when he started to decide to retire and things like that. But I was still able to feel it. I can still to this day picture. My dad ended up getting traded out to LA to play with the Rams, and we have an awesome family photo. I still have it here. I should have grabbed it and showed you. That'd be cool. But I remember being in the locker room specifically with the LA Rams and just seeing that and just feeling what it felt like to be a part of that team. And that was something that I knew I wanted to be a part of. So even from a young age, that was something that I was desiring to be a part of, that team. And to be able to play at the highest level is something that not very many people get to say. And to be a part of it as a family member is something else not a lot of people get to experience. So
Yeah.
it's really cool growing up, just being able to feel that atmosphere, to experience it from the opposite side versus a viewer on TV was something that, I'll never forget.
Yeah, yeah, especially in a city like Cleveland where the team is so loved and the fan base is so loyal. That's really, really cool. And you're a bit of a unique situation. Not only did you have a dad that played for the Browns, but I understand you had an uncle that played for the Indians,
Yeah.
which this is as much a baseball town as it is a football town. And so you had kind of both dynamics, and then you were a multi-sport athlete through high school and even college. So what was that like?
Yeah, definitely blessed with genes, no doubt about that. My uncle Carl grew up playing baseball, played with the Cubs a little bit, and then also played here in Cleveland with the Indians. That same thing, that's something that looking back on, I really appreciate what my my father, my uncle were able to accomplish. Not very many people get to say that they made it to the big leagues or to play professional sports. To have two people, in our family to be able to do so, it just speaks highly of their physical ability, but also work ethic, and that's something that going throughout life, I feel like is very important, whether you're business entrepreneurs, whether you're in anything, athletics, it's super important, and I think that that's something that speaks high volumes of what they were able to do growing up and then instill in their children as well.
Yeah, yeah. We have kind of a phrase and a motto in a book that's our mantra here within our company, and it's talent alone is never enough.
Yeah.
And you can be the most talented individual in the world, but if you're also not one of the hardest workers, if not the hardest worker, it's a waste. It's just wasting talent. So I think that really with both your father, your uncle, and yourself, you were definitely blessed with some talent, but you also had the foresight to put in the work, to put in the hours, to put in the grind, to get to the levels that you all did. So huge accomplishments, just unbelievably cool. So, were you a little bit torn during the 2016 World Series with the Cubs and the Indians there, or was it all Indians?
I would like to say I was, but yeah, not really so much. It was really all Indians,
Yep.
unfortunately. That doesn't always pan out the way that you hope. Uh,
Yep. Yeah. Still one of the greatest World Series that I certainly remember. That was just phenomenal coming down to the end of game seven. That was exceptional. And I had just moved to Cleveland or made a commitment to move to Cleveland. And I did spend several years in the Chicagoland area when I was growing up. And we went to a lot of games at Wrigley. So I was a little bit torn, but I was definitely on the rooting side for the Indians and was disappointed that they didn't end up pulling it off. But hopefully here soon.
yeah, exactly. It was cool to be a part of with the basketball championship, that celebration, that parade. I believe you probably just missed that
Yep.
So it would have been nice for you to be able to experience that in Cleveland with the Indians, but hopefully in the near future.
Yeah, yeah, very cool. So you're obviously a standout football player and athlete. So one question that I have, and having raised children, a lot of people that are raising children right now, the multi-sport athlete is kind of a diminishing asset with these hyper-focused student athletes nowadays. As early as age 7, 8, and 9, they're being influenced by their coaches and their parents to choose a sport, choose a sport, choose a sport. What kind of benefit do you think you gained by playing all three sports all through high school and even dual sport athlete into college?
That's a great question, Ryan. That's one that my wife and I actually always talk about. She was a college athlete as well, and we had our first daughter. She's almost 9 months. So we have a second one coming in the next couple of months, and that's something we talk about all the time. You do read about how people are getting sport specific younger and younger and younger to fully develop as much skill and talent within that one sport as possible. In theory, makes perfect sense, but what I worry about is how much are you going to hinder their overall athletic performance, and then how much are you going to potentially drive them to become a little bit burnt out of that
Hmm.
one specific sport. And what I mean by that is in football, you focus on very specific types of movements and lifts that may not always translate to somebody who's playing baseball. Whereas football, you're trying to become as strong, as powerful as possible, really good at moving in multiple directions and different things. Where baseball, you may be a little bit more hand-eye coordination, focusing on being a little bit more finesse, certain, very sport and technique specific when you're talking about hitting a baseball. So there's different things I think that will help evolve a young athlete overall.
Hmm.
You're talking about running in general is great for obviously cardiovascular endurance. So a sport like soccer in the off season, can help improve their cardiovascular endurance, which would translate onto a basketball court. They're going to be able to run and keep up through those 4 quarters. But then you might say, well, if somebody is only playing basketball, maybe their handling or their shooting could be a little bit more developed. So I think, for us, I think it's about just having them enjoy whatever it is that they're doing, especially at a young age. I think if they're being active, they're learning about competition, and they're forcing themselves to grow, whether it be physically or mentally, emotionally. I think that's really the most important for youngsters. I think also being able to learn how to deal with winning and losing, in a good type of way.
Hmm.
Obviously, you don't want to encourage losing by any means. At least we don't in our family. But at the same time, you have to understand, like, there's nobody's perfect. There's never, to my knowledge, there's never been anybody that's never lost anything ever in their life.
Yep.
I don't believe there probably will be. So I think, getting out there, forcing themselves to try different things, continue to be active, I think is very important.
Yeah, that's great advice. I almost want to take that and then carve that out to all the expecting parents and parents that are now getting their kids into athletics. So they just listen to that. I've witnessed it all too often that it becomes much more about the parents' journey or missed opportunities from their childhood than it is actually about the kid and having that passion and having that internal motivation to go out and put in the hours like you did when you were a kid to get better and continue to improve. So it's very, very well said. Really well done.
Yeah.
So into college. So how did obviously a standout athlete in high school here in Strongsville,
Mhm.
and how did you? What was that college recruiting process like, and how did you choose UMass? How difficult of a decision was that? How difficult of a decision was it to pare it down to one sport and then eventually, get into both sports into the college level?
So my recruiting situation was a little bit different. So I was playing football my junior year in high school, and I ended up fracturing and dislocating my thumb. So I was in a cast for 10 weeks. So I missed my entire junior season. So going into my senior year, I really I'd never started a varsity game in football. So with that, I kind of started a little bit delayed in the overall recruiting process. Talk about kids starting to develop at a younger age. Guys are getting recruited now in eighth grade
Hmm.
for colleges,
Yep.
and which to me it seems wild, because I feel like when a sophomore got offered a scholarship, it was a huge deal. and now it's freshmen, now it's eighth graders, and even below that. So wasn't really recruited at all until I started playing my senior year. That was the first senior year was the first time I'd started a varsity football game, and it started off, things were going well. We had a great team, great coaching staff. Actually ended up one of the best seasons in school history,
Oh,
which was
wow.
pretty cool to be a part of. So then it started to evolve in terms of recruiting. Started with some of the smaller schools that were coming in, local schools, and then I feel like as our team started to excel, more and more coaches started making their way in to recruit players at our team. And then I ended up also playing baseball. Baseball was a sport that I had started in my junior year and senior year, so I had a little bit more exposure as well. So out of high school, I actually had technically more Division One offers to play baseball than I did for football.
Oh,
And I
wow.
had taken visits to go to a couple schools. Cleveland State was one, Ohio University was another for baseball specifically. And I was torn back and forth, of which one I wanted to do at the college level and which one I felt like I wanted to try and continue to play beyond college if I had the opportunity. So that was a decision that I had a lot of long conversations with my family and very close friends, and a lot of self-reflecting as well. So ultimately, right, I ended up actually taking a preferred walk-on position at Bowling Green State University. And the reason why is because they came and talked to me in March of my senior year. At
Hmm.
that point, a lot of or all of their scholarships for the fall were already used and taken. They told me that the next year I would be awarded a full scholarship, which I was. But then after that point, I decided that I wanted to transfer for another opportunity. So I actually transferred to the University of Massachusetts. And when I transferred there at the time, they were a 1 AA program. So it was
Okay.
going from a 1A program to a 1 AA, which is kind of like a small, very small steps down. You still have eligibility to play right away. And that was the reason for that move. Oddly enough, the next year, UMass football was going up into the 1A MAC division, which is what I was previously in as well. So ended up when I decided I was going to transfer, there's a number of schools that had reached out, narrowing it down helped because it had to be a one AA program to remain eligible for that. And then UMass was a school that had tremendous history. In '98 they won the national championship, and they've had a couple great runs since then. And that was a school that I went to visit and I really loved. It reminded me up in New England is beautiful, especially during the fall. It reminded me a
Hmm.
lot of where I was from here in Northeast Ohio. So that was an opportunity that I was very excited about. We had a great coaching staff, great program, great academics there at UMass. So that's kind of how I ended up all the way out east.
Yeah, yeah, very cool. And did you enjoy the New England area as much as you thought you would?
Actually, I enjoyed it more.
Okay.
And I wasn't sure. You hear about New England winters, but being in Northeast Ohio, we get a lot of lake snow as well. So
Hmm.
you still get a lot of that bitter winter, the snow that's coming down sideways and everything.
Yep.
So that was one aspect that I was kind of accustomed to. But I really enjoyed, we spent summer out there with football and different things like that, staying on campus. I enjoyed the summers. I got out to the beach a little bit, which was pretty cool. Going out to the ocean versus, being in Lake Erie, which is a great, great lake, obviously.
Yep.
Being able to go to the ocean was something that we didn't experience a whole lot being here in Northeast Ohio. So that was really cool to be there. And then oddly enough, my best friend was actually playing at Boston College at
Oh,
the time.
wow.
Yeah, he was a kicker for them. And so we got together a lot. It was about 90 miles apart. So we would see each other pretty regularly too.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. So all those years, by the way, I think, as a 17, 18, 19-year-old to face those decisions, where you're going to go, who you're going to play for, what sport you're going to play, I think it's difficult and hard to, view kids going through that, but great life lessons learned. Like you said, self-reflection, the internal aspect of it, being able to read kind of the situation and all that. I'm sure that's lended itself to some of your professional success that you're now doing. So between that and then all of those years of experience in the locker room, working with coaches, other players, coaching other players up on the field, certainly in a quarterback type position, what lessons from the field and the locker room have you now successfully transferred into the business world?
Oh, yeah. where to start with that one. There's so many, and that's what I love about sports and athletics is no matter what level you're at, you're forced to learn so many different things. Communication, which is very, very important. Even if you're working on a individual type of sport like tennis, you still need to be able to communicate. If you have trainers or different people that you're working with, coaches that are going to help be able to communicate. And with that communication, I think comes an ability to be taught, to be coachable. I think that there's, like we talked about earlier, there's talent out there. There's people that work hard, but if you're not able to take what's given to you and figure out how you can use it to better your own individual ability, then I feel like that's an aspect of life that really will help carry you further if you can do those things.
Hmm.
Right. So communication's huge. Being able to take what's given to you and figure out how to use it to kind of better yourself is very important. We talked a little bit about being able to handle adversity or losing when things aren't going quite your way or the way that you had hoped they would, is being able to kind of adapt and overcome. Right. So if things in life or in sports knock you down, picking yourself up, knowing that it's okay to get down, pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and keep moving forward. That's one of
Yep.
those things about life that I feel like no matter who you are or which level you get to, you're still going to have to deal with. And then on top of that is if you climb the ranks in athletics, you tend to put yourself out there a little bit. You're kind of in a spotlight, not like kids are today. Talking about college athletes getting paid and things like that. I can
Oh yeah,
only imagine
absolutely.
what that's going to be like. But being able to kind of take criticism, right? So if you put yourself out there, being able to kind of take criticism, but again, to realize that you are not what anybody says you are, but you are actually who you decide to be. And internally whether you're doing things the way that you feel you should, that line up your morals and values and different things like that. So there's just so many different things, in leadership aspects as well, being able to help pick people up around you. I read in one of these books, forget the title of it. It was a great one though, but it basically was talking about how leadership is not any amount of letters or anything that comes after your name, but rather it's about that individual being able to help pick people up around them to get them bought into a very specific goal and help produce those results for everybody. And that's
Yep.
something that I feel like in sports, you learn to do that just about every day.
Yeah, and at a very young age, and it just becomes part of who you are, your internal fabric of being. That's great stuff. And as somebody, I've been very fortunate to lead people throughout my professional career, lead leaders, and I love having athletes on my team. People that played sports at any level, it was high school, college, professionally,
Mhm.
because there's so many internal motivating factors there. Generally, they're hyper competitive, which in a production based world that helps,
Yep.
but also all the adversity you can deal with anyone at any time, and situations don't disrupt your flow and your rhythm. And I think a lot of the things that you said just about how to communicate as well, I don't think I've ever been able to articulate it that well, but you're exactly right. You have to be able to communicate with what you're feeling, what you're dealing with, what you're going through. Communicating injuries is just a big aspect of it, which that to me immediately translated to how do you communicate that you're struggling to close a deal or get a presentation or make an impact in another individual's life. I think that that is so well said, and that's definitely a lesson that I'll take away. I think that that's awesome.
Yeah.
So you obviously, the athlete never loses the competitive spirit. They just find different outlets for it.
Yes.
So what are some of the current outlets that you have to fuel your competitive spirit?
Oh man, there's a number of them. Some of them smaller, some of them larger. One thing that my wife and I have always been competitive with each other and just overall is health and wellness and fitness. I think we help motivate each other to be competitive with ourselves, which is something that it's not always easy to kind of turn that. I think it's very oftentimes easier to kind of look outwards and compare yourself to what other people are doing, but I think it's really more important to be able to turn inside and compare and compete against yourself and truly become the best person that you can. So with working out, there's times where you feel great and you're working out consistently numerous times per week and you're constantly getting stronger, getting faster, getting leaner, whatever your goals are. Then there's other times like we talk about adversity kind of strikes and then you find yourself falling down a little bit. But competing to continue to stay up with yourself physically, mentally, emotionally. That's something that, on a daily basis, I like to compete with. And now, times have changed for ourselves a little bit as well. We've grown a family. I personally am excited to compete to become the best father that I can. I think that's something that growing up I kind of thought about a little bit, but then now once having children really kind of changes your world. And so
Yep.
being able to focus now to compete with myself to become the best father, to become the best figure and ultimately hopefully a role model for children growing up is something that it's very fun. And then lastly, it's just business wise, being able to compete, where we are a couple years from now, we want to compete and be, bigger, stronger, whatever it is, years down the road. So there's a couple different avenues that we'd like to compete on.
Yep, yep, that's good. That's good. So speaking of business, why don't you get us what are you currently involved in? What do you and your wife Tessa have going on, and what are you guys going after?
So we're with health and wellness. That's what we do. That's who we are. That's something that we're always been super passionate about. That's why, growing up both as athletes, going into the health and fitness industry, with running and owning Orange Theory Fitness. And then also we decided to create our own supplement line. And again, it all kind of aligns with who we are as individuals and what we believe in. So we created a couple different health and wellness products. We have a green superfood formula. We have, just mental focus formulas as well. And those are products that we're passionate about. And also we kind of really like that whole process of being able to create a brand and being able to create products to service the market to enhance their life, whether it be mentally, physically, overall health and wellness, different things like that. That's something that we're always looking to improve on, always looking to expand on. If we are going to continue to expand, it's going to be within this industry. We're really passionate also with anti-aging and different things like that, and kind of looking forward to do a little bit of preventative maintenance per se. So things that will help with that aging process is things that we're very excited about and always kind of looking into as well.
Hey everybody, this is Michael from ADS. I know I enjoyed listening to Kellen's stories about growing up with a professional athlete as a parent. I'm assuming you did as well. I hope that all parents listen to his advice on youth athletes and how to prepare for different sports. Next week, we speak with Kellen on how to better oneself from eating to fitness and mindset. App is available through Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, YouTube, and our website. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button to be notified of the latest episodes.